Hi, I'm Ethan Kwan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a 100% pen project in Scratch. Now, in case you don't know, what is a 100% pen project? Well, a 100% pen project is, well, what you think it is. It's a project that uses all pen. So, you can just search up 100% pen on Scratch, like this, and you will get results of 100% pen projects like these. And you might notice, let's just click on one of these. Let's say we click on the scrolling platformer, for example. As you can see inside, there's only one sprite except for the thumbnail, but that's not important. The important thing is it's only one sprite, and that's basically the rules, I guess, of a 100% pen project. You're only allowed to use a pen. You're only allowed one sprite. That one sprite cannot have any costumes in it. So here, that's an example of a 100% pen project. Here is another example. This looks like it's a golf game. We also have, say, Tetris here, which is pretty cool, because I like Tetris, and Tetris is fun. I don't know what I'm doing. Also, we have something like... Anyway, okay, so let's finally get on with the video. Actually, no, one more announcement. I figured out how to do live streaming. Probably gonna live stream at 900 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers. Get that subscriber number up. I am going to announce when I'm live streaming on my Discord and on my community notifications. So make sure to join my Discord. Self-promotion out of the way. Let's get on with the video. Okay, so we have a new Scratch project up and running. I called it already pen tutorial, and as you can see, we have a sprite one already designated for us by Scratch. Now, you could use this. I don't want to use this because I have to get rid of the costumes and stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete sprite 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a new sprite. We're going to paint a new sprite, and this sprite is, let's just call it pen, and we're going to need 2 costumes in here. Now, as I said, the rules are you're not allowed to have anything in your costume. So what we're going to do is, I'm not sure if this is considered cheating, but we're going to paint another costume, and we're going to name this one Big. And this is so that the sprite can go off screen and it doesn't look bad. Now, I'm not sure about the exact rules, if somebody can inform me down in the comments, but I'm pretty sure this is still allowed in a 100% pen project. Now, if you don't have anything off screen that you want to display, you don't have to do this. I'm just going to do it so that it's easier. So we're going to go ahead and set the fill and the outline to the blank, and we're going to go ahead and click the rectangle tool, and we're going to draw the biggest rectangle you can possibly draw. Something like this. Yes, so here's our rectangle. Actually, I'm going to fill it in so I can see it for now. That's a really bright... oh gosh. Anyway, so now we have this big rectangle. What we're going to do is we're going to drag it around until we snap it to the center of our grid. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on it, fill, and then we're going to get rid of the color. So it's technically not a costume. It's just a big box that lets the player, the pen sprite go off screen. Okay, so now we're gonna switch to costume 1. We're gonna call this one blank, and as the name says, we're just gonna leave this one blank. Okay, let's get coding. So today we're gonna be coding up a player movement script, so a player controller. Now, of course, you already know that from the title of the video, but yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start coding up a player controller. Yes, so, by the way, we're just going to cover, like, everything you might want for a project, so, like, player controller, bullets, enemies, and how to detect clicks, and, like, how to detect collisions. Anyway, let's get on with the tutorial. Okay, so inside our pen sprite, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a when green flag clicked. And when green flag clicked, we're going to immediately create a new block. These new blocks are very helpful. We're going to create a new block. We're going to call it setup. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and click run without screen refresh. Click OK. I forgot to mention, this is for a very advanced... you have to be pretty advanced to know this stuff. You have to, like, I'm not saying you can't follow this tutorial if you're not that advanced. I'm not saying you're not advanced. I'm just saying it's gonna be harder if you're not sure about how Scratch works, and you should probably understand a little bit at least of trigonometry and a bit of Pythagoras. Of course, you don't have to. It's just gonna be a bit helpful if you know about the Pythagorean theorem and trigonometry a little bit. Anyway, yes, so inside our setup block, we're gonna set up. So first of all, we're gonna, okay, I forgot to do this. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add the pen extension to our project. So how do we do that? Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here, we're gonna click this add extension block down here, and we're just gonna go ahead and look through this until we see pen, click pen, and it should be added to your project. Okay, so the first thing you want to do in setup is we're going to erase all of the canvas, and we're going to go ahead and pen up, and we're going to actually stick this before the erase all. Okay, so we're going to set up basically all our variables and all our scripts in here. Okay, and once we're done setting up, we are going to go ahead and broadcast a message. We're going to broadcast a message, new message, start game, and click OK. Okay, and make sure under our when green flag clicked, go to my blocks, grab the setup block and put it underneath our when green flag clicked. Okay, so let's go to events, grab a when I receive start game. What are we going to do here? Well, we're going to basically create our game loop. So we're going to create another custom block. You're going to see me use a whole bunch of custom blocks in this video. That's very useful for pen project because pen project is very complex, and it's really hard to find scripts if you don't have them set up inside these blocks. Anyway, let's create a new block. We're going to call it game loop. Game loop, like this. And we're going to make sure to click run without screen refresh. This is very important for the game loop. We're going to click run without screen refresh, click OK. Okay, so we're going to drag this game loop into some free space, and we're going to drag our game loop into our when I receive start game. And actually, we're going to wrap that inside a forever loop, so go to control, grab a forever loop, and when I receive start game, forever, game loop. So this game loop is going to run forever now. Okay, so inside our game loop script, what we're going to do is we're going to first grab and erase all. This is very important because every frame we want to erase the whole canvas so we get a fresh, clean canvas to work with, right? So every frame is going to erase. Okay, and now we're going to draw a background. This is not necessary if you just like the white background, but it's really nice to have this background because then you can customize it a bit better. So we're going to go ahead and create another block. We're going to call it background. I can't spell today. Background. Okay, and we're going to click run without screen refresh. Click OK. Okay, so define background. What are we going to do inside our background? Well, first of all, drag the background block into our game loop script. Okay, so what are we going to do in our background? Well, actually, we're going to create another block, and this is going to basically reset all our stuff. So like to just set up for drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another block. We're going to call this setup pen at, and we're going to add an input X and another input Y, and we're also going to add a pen size, so we can just do size, so another input size, add a label, color, and 3 inputs R, G, and B. Now, of course, we could just stick one input in here. That would make it much easier to code, but for customization purposes and for ease later, we're just going to do an RGB value. And make sure to click run without screen refresh and then click OK. Okay, so set up pen at X, Y, size, color, RGB. Now, we're going to use this immediately inside our background. Input a 0 for the X, 0 for the Y, and we're going to do a size of 1000. And we're going to do a color of whatever you want. I'm just going to do a nice little gray color, so this would be like 50, 50, 50. That's about a gray color. Okay, so set up pen at 00, size 1000, color 50, 50, 50. And below that, all we're gonna do is pen down and then pen up. So this will just draw a dot straight in the middle of the canvas. Now, of course, we have to define our setup pen at block. So we're gonna go ahead and inside go to our define setup pen at XY. So what we're gonna do is go to motion, grab a go to X0, Y0, and we're just gonna drag our input variables into the inputs of the go to XY. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and go to pen, grab a set pen size to, and we're just gonna set pen size to the size input. And finally for the color, now, okay, this gets a bit harder. So first of all, most important thing, do not drag the set pen color to number input. This is not the block we want, so get rid of that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use a set pen color 2, and it's this kind of like color selector thing here. So we're gonna drag this right underneath the set pen size 2 size. And what are we going to do with these RGB values? Well, we're going to have to do a bit of math. So we're going to go to operators, drag 3 addition blocks. Like this. We're going to drag 3 addition blocks. And then we're going to go ahead and inside those addition blocks, we're going to drag a multiplication into the leftmost one. And we're going to drag a multiplication into the middle one. But leave the right hand one empty. Okay, so now we're going to drag our RGB values in here. So drag a B into the last input, drag a G into the middle input, and drag an R into the first input. Okay, and what are we going to multiply these by? Well, these are actually just numbers, so we're going to go ahead and input 256 into the G, and we're going to input 65,536 into the second input. Now, where did I get these numbers? Well, the 256 is the color range for G. So the green value ranges from 0 to 256. So we're going to multiply G by 256 to get our color value. Okay, so where does the 65,536 value come from? Well, this takes a bit more math. So what we're going to do is drag a multiplication, and we're going to multiply 256 by 256. And this number is 65,536. So that's where that number comes from. Now, of course, you can just stick this in here to make it more accurate, but I'm just going to leave it as 65,536. Now, why are we squaring 65,500? Why are we squaring 256 to get this number? Well, that's just color math. You don't have to worry about it right now. Okay, anyway, how long? It's been 12 minutes and we still haven't drawn anything on the screen, so let's hurry up with this. So we're going to drag this whole math block into the pen color block right here. Okay, so this should work. Last thing we want to do is we're just going to go to pen, drag a pen up, and drag that at the very top so that we don't draw anything on the screen. Okay, so now this should actually work. So if we just click the green flag, yes, so now we have a nice gray background for us to work with. Okay, so now let's work on our player controller. So it's been 13 minutes and we still haven't gotten a player. Okay, so how are we gonna do a player? So of course you can do this however you want. I'm going to just do a simple player. It's just gonna be a round circle. Of course you can make this however you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to my blocks, create a new block, call it player. And this is just going to store all the scripts for our player. And make sure to click run without screen refresh. Click OK. Okay, and drag the player right away underneath our background block. Okay, let's stop the scripts. Okay, so now we have our player block. What are we going to do inside our player? So first of all, create another block. We're going to call this one draw player. Okay, and this is clearly going to draw our player. Run without screen refresh. Click OK. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and drag our draw player right underneath our player scripts. Okay, let's move this draw player into some free space. Okay, so define draw player. What are we gonna do? Well, this is actually pretty simple. We're first gonna grab our setup pen at block. Setup pen at, and now we're gonna have to create a few variables. So first of all, delete the my variable. We don't need the my variable. And we're gonna create 4 new variables. dx for this sprite only. Oh, that's not for the sprite only. One more time. dx for this sprite only. dy for this sprite only, X for this sprite only, and Y also for this sprite only. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to hide all these variables. Actually, for now, I'm going to show them. You don't have to do this. I'm just going to show them so that I know everything's working properly. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just set up pen, back to inside our draw player, we're going to set up pen at X, Y. Actually, I should rename these to player X, so nobody gets confused. Player X, and rename this one to player Y, because we might have other Y variables in the game. Again, I should rename this to player DX, and this one should also be renamed to player DY. Okay, yes, so this is just being more descriptive, because we might also, for a 100% pen project, you are definitely going to have other X's and Y's, so we have to specify them clearly. Okay, size, we're just going to go ahead and set the size to, I don't know, something arbitrary, 20. And the color, okay, so we need an RGB value. I'm going to go ahead and go online, go to RGB color picker, just search that up, like this, and yes, so now we have an RGB color picker. I'm just going to make this a nice bluish color, maybe like this. So this is going to be a RGB of 86, 150, 252, so those numbers here, 86, what were they, 150, and 250, and 252. Okay, so this should draw our player at player X, player Y. Now, all we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and pen down, pen up. Now, this will just draw a dot to the screen, and we can test that. So, yeah, so now we have our player. It's the exact color we wanted, which is nice, and it's drawing to the screen. Now, of course, what we can do now is we can actually change these player X, player Y into sliders, and we can play with the player X and player Y. So now, as you can see, you might see how we're gonna do this. Okay, so that's basically the player movement. All we're gonna do is we're gonna update these variables, and of course we're gonna create a new block for this. So we're gonna create a new block. We're gonna call it move player, and run without screen refresh. Move player, and I'm going to add a velocity to the player. You don't have to do this, I'm just going to do it. So put this move player above the draw player. So we update our variables, and then we draw the player to the screen. Now, that might not seem a very big deal, but it might be in future, so we're just gonna, yeah. So just make sure to do that. Okay, so we're gonna move this move player into some free space, and okay. So, move player. And now, how are we going to do this? Well, this is actually pretty simple. All we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a set player, we're going to change player DX by, and we're going to change player DX by, what we're going to do is go to operators. Actually, first of all, we're going to create another variable. We're going to call this one friction, for the sprite only. Actually, this should be called player friction. Player friction, and one more variable, player speed, and this is also for the sprite only. Of course, this is a 100% pen project. It shouldn't matter if you're gonna do for the sprite only or for all sprites. I'm just doing it so that I don't know. I'm just used to doing for the sprite only variables. Okay. So also, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into setup. Inside setup, make sure to reset all your variables. This is good practice to have. So it's a good idea to always reset your variables at the start of a game. So we're just gonna grab 6 of these. 6 set player DX blah blah blah. So set player X to 0, set player Y to 0, set player DX to 0, set player DY to 0, set player friction to 0, and set player speed to 0. And we're just gonna stick this giant block, not that giant, but giant block into our setup. It doesn't really matter where you stick it, it just has to be above the broadcast start game. So I'm just gonna stick it right here, below the erase all. It doesn't really matter, the only thing that matters is it's above the broadcast start game. Okay, so back to our move player. It's been 19 minutes and we still don't have the player moving with the arrow keys. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to operators, grab a minus, and this is a small trick that you might know. we're gonna go to sensing, drag a key, and we're gonna first make left and right movements. So we're gonna do right arrow, key right arrow pressed minus key left arrow pressed. Oops, not add a comment. Duplicate and key left arrow pressed. Now this will output 1 if we're pressing the right arrow, -1 if we're pressing the left arrow, and 0 if we're pressing nothing. So that's 0 right now. If I press the right arrow, if I press the left arrow, it outputs -1. If I press the right arrow, it outputs 1. Okay, so all we have to do, literally, is just stick this right inside the change player dx by. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this whole thing by a variable. We're going to multiply this by player speed, so we can control the speed. And actually, inside setup, what we're going to do is set player speed to 1. We can alter that later. Oh, and make sure to set player friction to 0.9. That just determines how slippery it is. It has to be between 0 and 1. 0 means, like, static, you can't move at all. 1 means ice, like really, really slippery, 0 friction, basically. Okay, anyway, change player dx by player speed times key right arrow press minus key left arrow press. We can actually test that if we just check out our player dx variable. As you can see, it updates based on what arrow key I'm pressing. Like this, yes, okay. And when I press the green flag, it resets, so that's good. Okay, so, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the player dy. So we're going to change player dy, we can just duplicate that whole thing. Change player dy by player speed multiplied by key up arrow pressed minus key down arrow pressed. And this should also work. So let's just, yep, I'm pressing both keys. I can move up and down, I can move left and right, that's great. Well, I can't really move yet, but I can change the player dx variable. Okay, now let's add friction. So I'm just going to go ahead and set player dx to player dx. So grab another player dx. We're going to grab a multiplication, player dx multiplied by, and go to variables, player friction. So player dx, set player dx to player dx times player friction. And then we can just duplicate that, and we're just going to go ahead and set player dy to player dy multiplied by player friction. Okay. So now we have these variables. Let's just test it out. Yes, so now I can so now we have smooth movement. So that's good. Okay. Okay, and finally we're just gonna go ahead and change player x by player dx, and we're just gonna change player y by player dy. Okay, let's test this out. And yeah. Okay, great. So now we have movement. And of course you can alter these variables. Let's actually hide these variables first. For some reason they're not hiding. Hide these variables here. Okay. So you can alter these numbers here. So if you want more friction, you can change it to a lower number. So I'm just going to set it to 0.8. Now it won't be as slidey, as you can see. That's actually kind of nice. So I'm just going to set it to 0.85, maybe. Yeah, I think that's nice. Yes. Okay. And I'm also going to set the player speed to 1.5, so that we can move a bit faster. That feels like I'm way too fast. Actually, no, that's actually pretty good. Okay, so now we have a nice player movement script. Okay, that's good. So that was part 1. Thank you for watching. How long has it been? It's been 23 minutes. That's perfect. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something today. I hope you learned, like, how to use the pen, how to use that many blocks in a project. Yeah, anyway, in all seriousness, thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking this video. If you didn't like it, you can click the dislike button, whatever. Okay, anyway, see you at How to Do Stuff with Ethan, and see you next time. Bye.